Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope you're doing well. It's starting to cool down. You know how you can tell? I'm wearing this ugly sweatshirt. That's how. The sleeves fit along. And with that in mind, I figured let's go over some cologne fragrances, some cheap ones that are fantastic for cooler weather. So whether we're talking late fall or all through winter, these ones have enough push to cut through the cold and get you noticed. And they're cheap, like I said. It's always a positive not having to spend as much money. All of these are gonna be linked in the description. Feel free to check them out there. Let's get started right away with this one, the Envy of FOMO. And you know what that is? That is a clone of Gucci Envy. Am I pointing to it? Gucci Envy. Close. I love Gucci Envy. I've got 2 bottles always hanging out back there, watching the back of my head like a creepy stalker type vibe going on, but I still love them. And this is a clone of that fragrance, which is discontinued, very expensive. If you wanna find a bottle nowadays, you know, you're probably gonna have to go on eBay and pay, I'm gonna guess $300-400 bucks. Okay, there's a 50 ml unsealed box for 400 bucks, 100 ml for 470, 100 ml for 400. Oh, a sealed one. If you want a sealed one, 550. So yeah, a little bit expensive, a little bit pricey. This though gets really close to Gucci Envy and is much more affordable. And I was both excited and a little bit, not nervous, but trepidatious.
This is the perfect time to panic.
When this one first came out, actually some of you guys emailed me and you were like, hey, did you see? Did you see? Did you see? And so that's when I had to see. But shout out to you guys. Thank you for looking out for me and thank you for sending me that email, the few of you that did. But anyway, I was excited because I love Envy, I do, but I was trepidatious because what if it sucked? Thankfully, it don't suck. And actually this is one of those ones that with a little bit of maceration, I love that. Anytime you talk about cologne fragrances. It's like Pee Wee Herman's word of the day, maceration. Have you been macerating your fragrance? Yeah. But anyway, with that maceration, this has opened up and smells even better now than when I first got it in. It's rich, it's classy, very gentlemanly, woody, spicy, elegant, just a top-notch scent. The quality here, very high for the price point. And I had to bring that one up because I love Gucci Envy. But I hate the price. I don't want to buy more bottles, so, you know, this can scratch that itch a little bit. Up next, we have Ross Saucy Brilliant Bronze. Yes, I know it's pronounced Versace. So this one is a clone of Penhaligon's Halfeti Leather. This is one of the more affordable Versace fragrances, so it's not gonna be as costly as, you know, Hawas Black, Hawas Ice, La Yucawam, stuff like that. So like I said, on the cheaper side, but really good quality for that price point. So the way Halfeti Leather comes across, also a little bit similar to Oud Malaki from Chopard. And this one actually has maybe a tinge more sweetness to it in comparison to Halfeti Leather. And while it does have that rich, robust, deep, almost kind of dark leather undertone to it, just like the Penhaligon's. This one, not quite as much so. So for some people, that's gonna make it a little bit easier to wear, a little bit easier to pull off because it's not quite as aggressive with that aspect. Still really well done, very close, and great bang for your buck. Let's go with this one next. Naziz Silver. This is from Fragrance World. Presentation, super simplistic. Not a whole heck of a lot going on there. Down to the box, the cap, everything. I mean, this is like, just a little plastic, lightweight cap, you know? Not a whole lot attention grabbing is what I mean to say. So much so that sometimes I even forget that it's there. I'm like looking through everything and I just glance right over it. It's like it's blending in like a chameleon. But this is my favorite type of clone fragrance, just like this one, actually. And you know what that is? A clone of a discontinued fragrance that's difficult to find and that's expensive. This one is a clone of Boss Bottled Intense from Hugo Boss. And when that fragrance was at its peak, it was hyped and it was loved. Not everybody, but most people thought it was an improvement over the original Boss Bottled. Richer, deeper, stronger, better performance, so you could use it just about whenever you wanted, but it made it especially good for fall and winter time. And now I'm curious about what Boss Bottled Intense is going for. Here's a bottle for 100 bucks, 50 mil. Hopefully that's a legitimate bottle, but that's not too bad of a price. 165 for this one. Open box, it says 150. So yeah, somewhere around that range, 150, 160 for a 100 mil. Still, this is way cheaper than that and very similar to Boss Bottled Intense. That fragrance, like the original Boss Bottled, really well known for having cinnamon apple right in the front of the fragrance. Didn't know what I was saying there. Of the, you know, in the, Another one, great quality, great performance as well. Let's see, up next, let's go Afro Leather. This is Maison Alhambra, and this is one of those clones where they don't hide anything. Actually, African leather's back here. Let's go back here and just want to show you this real quick. See that? Yeah. Somebody is being obvious about what they're doing here. So anyway, Maison Alhambra Afro Leather, that is a clone of African leather from Memo Paris. It's really good. Cardamom is one of the things that I get most from African leather. It's really the thing that makes the fragrance for me, because when you first spray it on, it just smells amazing. It's got designer sensibilities to it, so it has that wearability, that mass appeal, compliment factor, all of that, and the cardamom is a big part of that. It's very warm, rich, spicy, a little bit sweet. As it dries down, of course, you get leather that comes out, but it's not an animalic leather. It's not funky, it's not weird or anything like that. So again, very easy to wear, designer sensibilities. Designer sensibilities, the second word of the day. Words of the day. Then it also has a nice woodiness, vetiver in there as it dries down. It's a dry vetiver, a little bit grassy, but very classy as well. It's a classy grassy. Let's go this one next. B, Satin Mood. Guess time. If you get this wrong, then you have to do 50 push-ups. What is this a clone of? What could that be? I hope you got it right. It's Oud Satin Mood from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. And there's actually a few of these B fragrances, and I'm guessing, completely like stab in the dark, but I'm guessing that it's one of those deals where they had some stuff that was a little too close in terms of look / name, and so they switched it up a little bit, because some brands, for some reason, I don't know why, but they don't like it when you get this close. Like this one over here. Because Fragrance World had some stuff that was like Baraka Rouge, Barakat Rouge. Talking Baraka from Mortal Kombat Rouge. Now that's a fragrance I'd buy. I just gave you guys, you fragrance brands, a great idea. Work with Mortal Kombat, come out with Baraka Rouge. It's blood all over the place. Baraka's got his, blades out. Ugh. Buy this or get fatalized. So anyway, this is Oud Satin Mood. Oud Satin Mood, in case you have never smelled it, is actually more of a rose fragrance. There's a good amount of rose in there. A little bit powdery, has sort of an ambery vibe underneath. The oud is not overpowering. It's not fecal, animalic, anything like that. So it's soft, but at the same time has good tenacity, good longevity. Very elegant smelling and unisex as well. And this is actually a really well done alternative to that fragrance, and there's not that many clones of Oud Satin Mood. At one point in time, that was like a hype monster. Kind of going back to this, Boss Bottled Intense at one point in time, everybody talking about it. Same thing with Oud Satin Mood. And that is a great alternative on the cheap. Let's talk next about this one, Epic. Celerio Epic, and this is from Dumont Paris. This is a clone of Angel Share by Kilian. Also smells similar to Camra a little bit, which could also mean that it would remind you a little bit of Sava from Gisa. So a lot of different things going on here, but at the end of the day, to keep it very simple, Angel Share or Camra. Great performance on this, by the way. Easily lasts all day. Great projection, gets you noticed, and flies under the radar compared to most of the Angel Share alternatives out there. Not as many people know about this one. Super good. So it's got plum, cinnamon, cognac, vanilla, among other notes. Very rich, sweet. Again, great performance, so easily gets you noticed. My wife loves it. She thinks it's one of the best Angel Share alternatives on the market. I agree. I think that you've got to put this one up there with the big dogs, up there with Camra and all those. So of course, this type of fragrance during fall, during winter, lights out. Let's go next with this Joe Milano Game of Spades High Roller. High Roller, and this is pretty heavy. In the hand, it has a lot of heft. The cap is decently heavy as well. And this is a clone of Absolute Aventus. So Hawas Black came out, and at first, myself and most other people thought it was gonna be Absolute Aventus, and then it turned out to actually be more like Hassavat, but with more push and a bit darker. This one actually is Absolute Ventus. So this is gonna be slotting in there with like Club de Nuit, Perseus, fragrances like that. This is one that you wanna be really careful on, but you do wanna pay attention because depending on where you buy this, there can be a pretty wide swing on how much it costs. Oh, by the way, did you see the atomizer? Pressurized. Woo! All it needs now is a magnetic cap. Oh no, it's everywhere. Ah, you guys can't see it, but I could. It's like fragrance ghosts just kind of wafting through. So some places this will be like 60, 65. As far as the price, other places it'll be like 80, 85. And if you look at Joe Milano's website, I think it retails for $220, or at least that's what they have it listed at. If you willingly go and buy this for $220, then that's on you, man. All I'm saying is that's probably not a great idea. In terms of quality, actually surprisingly high. Joe Milano is a house that initially, when I first bought some stuff from them, I was not very impressed. This was, to be fair, like, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago. Might have been longer, actually. They didn't have any of these out at that point. It was like some other stuff. And one of them was an Aventus clone, I remember. And yeah, they were. Then they came out with these. And the first time I saw them, I thought they were priced too high. They were priced too high, too high. And then as time has gone on, as typically happens, they dropped a little bit. And then it was like, okay, well, give it a go. And they're good quality, really good, as long as you don't pay too much. You know, you get $220, that's insane. 60, 65, at that point, you're getting a really top of the line clone fragrance in terms of the quality of the scent itself. And if you want an alternative to Absolute Ventus, this is gonna be right there neck and neck with the Armaf. Difference is you get more of this one, because this is a 100 ml bottle and the Armaf is like 65, I think. It's a weird size. I think it's 65. All right, let's get one of those ones that's just blatantly obvious. There we go. Take a look at that. Take a gander. That is something else. Giovani Lorenzi, Caesar. Giovani Lorenzi. It's got a pressurized atomizer. Cap's not heavy though. That's a lightweight. Oh. That was an awful toss. I don't know why I just tightened up like a small child. Ooh, I threw the cap. I was planning on catching that, but I threw it too far and I was not about to dive across this table and knock everything over to try to make a sweet diving catch of my Giovani Lorenzi cap. This has nothing to do with Tiziana Terenzi. It does not smell like Tiziana Terenzi Chimera. That's a lie. So yeah, that's what this is. This is a Terenzi Chimera clone. And as far as the presentation goes, it's pretty close other than the cap. They even give you this funky box. I kind of dig this. It's so goofy. I love it. It's got a magnetic closure. And there is a light right here. It is the weakest light of all time. It's right there. It's supposed to be the whole, you know, Terenzi thing where you open the box and it illuminates the bottle. This is the weakest, wimpiest, crappiest light. It ain't illuminating nothing, bro. But it does have a little pull tab. So when you open this, it's gonna pull tab and it's like pull to, you know, set off the light to turn the light on. So you pull it and then you're like, nothing happened. And you have to really look and you go, oh, okay. That was a fail at a flop of a box there. Throw you away. Anyway, getting back to the fragrance. This is really close to Chimera, actually, and that is a pricey fragrance, especially if we're talking at retail. In the US, I think Chimera is like $425, somewhere in that range, 400 something range. In Europe, it's the same, it's 400 something euros. So like I said, expensive. And technically, I think the Chimera presentation is not this style of Terenzi presentation, but like, that's fine, you know, it's splitting hairs at that point. It's got a lot going on. It's got some sweet aspects. It has tobacco, it's got leather, honey. It has floral undertones that kind of start to become overtones. And it has a vague similarity to my other love, M7. Not the exact same as M7, but you can pick out like a bit of an inspiration of that fragrance, even in here and also in Chimera. Let's do this next. This is Spectre Wraith. It's good for Halloween time, you know, it's spooky. Probably should have put that right up here in the front. Should have led with that. Do a Halloween fragrances video that 12 of you will watch. This is a clone of Black Phantom from by Killian, which is a fragrance that I really love. It's not gonna be for everybody, but it gets very close to smelling like a one-to-one with Black Phantom. This is a fragrance that's trying more so to just directly emulate the fragrance instead of doing it with a twist. It's got coffee, rum, spices, a little bit of sweetness in there. The opening can be a little off-putting to some people, but if you've smelled the opening of Black Phantom, then you pretty much smelled the opening of this one. And it's got great performance. Lasts a long time, projects heavily, so when it's cold outside, that's gonna cut right through. It's gonna get you noticed. And I think that as it dries down, again, I love the opening. I love the opening, but you know, some people don't. But as it dries down, it gets way easier to wear. Smells absolutely magnetic, and big compliment puller as it dries down, at least for me. Last but not least, Arm Off Radical Brown. Radical, radical, radical. This is not necessarily like a one-to-one of anything, but it's gonna remind you of potentially a few things. One of the more prominent things is Herod from Parfums de Marly, but also smells a little similar to Man in Black Black Orient, which is from Bulgari, discontinued. Could also remind you a little bit of L'Homme Ideal Eau de Parfum. That's gonna be because of the sweetness in here when you first spray it on. Got cinnamon, tobacco, amber, incense, some additional spices, resins. So it's kind of like bits and pieces of each one of those. And part of how you interpret this fragrance might be how familiar you are with each one of those. So if you're more familiar with one of them, maybe you'll get more of that fragrance from this when you spray it on. But ultimately, it's kind of in that style, in that wheelhouse of those scents. This is another one that sometimes has a wide fluctuation in prices. If you search it up right now as of this video, you can find it for mid-20s, and you might also see somebody asking in the 70s. Most decent discounters are gonna have it on that lower end, so that's where you wanna pick this one up for. You don't wanna spend anything above 40 bucks on this, but in that 25 to $30 price range, this is actually a huge bang for your buck. Fantastic quality, but it is a little syrupy sweet when you first spray it on. I think it smells fine. I like the opening. It's just if you really hate fragrances that have like a syrupy, sugary, sweet open, you may not dig this, but as it dries down, that fades away anyway, so it's not a real big deal breaker, I feel like. So there we go, guys. There are some fragrances that during the fall, during the winter, gonna have you smelling amazing. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.